Bunzy's Vlog! Hurrah! Hello and welcome to Bunzy's Vlog, and today I'd like to talk about limited games, or specifically a company that release limited games, and they're called Limited Run Games. Now, in case you don't know this company, what they do is they basically release physical copies, so on disc, of games that sort of have been only available online. But they don't release a massive amount of these games, hence the company name Limited Run Games. So far they've released things for the PS Vita and they've released things for the PS4. I'm not sure if they've done any other games consoles. I'm sure, you know, someone will say down in the comments if they have. But when they release a game, they literally will release, I don't know, 2,500 copies, say, on that specific system. So one of the games they released was called Saturday Morning RPG. They released about 2,500 copies of it on PS Vita and on PlayStation 4, and obviously they sold out in seconds. Oh, not seconds, minutes. They sold out in minutes on their website, because what they do is they say when the game's going to be released on their website, and obviously people wait for that exact second and then they buy them, which is great if you're a games collector and you can get a copy of this, because obviously games collectors want something a bit special, and these are, you know, admittedly special. There's not a lot of them around, and that's the great thing about it. You feel like you've got something really nice in your collection. And you know, me personally, I collect video games, but I do buy and sell a few video games as well. You know, and that gives me the money by selling some video games that I bought. That then gives me the money to build up my collection even more. And that's a nice thing for me. However, the problem with a company like Limited Run Games is because they only release in very small amounts, the people who end up getting these games aren't necessarily games collectors or people that are going to enjoy the games. They're purely buying these games so they can sell them on eBay. And if you don't believe me, look on eBay, look at the price of Saturday Morning RPG, or look at the price of Retro City Rampage, which are both Limited Run Games releases. They're massive, and instantly. Okay, so they release these games for sort of like, you know, $60 or $70 or whatever, but the second they're released, 10 minutes later, they're on eBay because they've sold out, and on eBay they're going for $200. It's kind of sad. It's sad for gamers, and I think that's the downside of Limited Run Games. And I know for a fact they're not going to be the only company doing this. I think this is something that's just started, and I think over the next few years there's going to be a lot more companies like Limited Run Games that are going to do the same thing. And it's great for them because they're not really making a major investment in these games. And all these games are numbered, so, you know, if there's 2,500, you're, oh great, I've got copy 537 of 2,500, you know, so you know you're getting something special. But is this where games are going? And should games just be collected on the fact that they're rare? I don't know what you think. I think it's kind of sad. Don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of selling games that I know are valuable for a higher amount, but has gaming now reached that point where it's so saturated that games have become more of a commodity than actually being bought to be played? Because personally, I would love to play Saturday Morning RPG. I'd love a copy, but I can't afford to spend that much money on a copy. I can't spend 200 quid or whatever it is on one game. It's ridiculous. And you know, I collect for sort of the PS2, the PS3, the PS4. Well, not many PS4 because again, they're expensive. And my son sort of buys all the main releases for those anyway, so I just play them. But certainly PS2, PS3, and I've got a massive Wii collection. And the reason I collect for Wii at the moment is because the games are so cheap and there's so many amazing games. So for the price of a copy of, I don't know, Retro City Rampage, I could literally buy at least 100 Wii games. So for me, that makes good financial sense. Get 100 games, don't get one, and then, you know, okay, so if I dislike 90 of them, I've still got 10 games that I'm going to love. But I just think it's sad that there are companies that are deliberately releasing limited run games. Let me know what you think. And I suppose it starts with the fact that there's now Nintendo games that are so rare, like the Nintendo World Championship, that was originally released for a games competition where people could enter and they could win kind of $10,000 if they were the best at these games. If they were the best at Tetris, Mario and Rad Racer, they'd go along to the competition, they'd play a sort of scaled down version of those 3 games for like a minute each, and obviously the person that got the best score would end up winning the competition. And Nintendo only released about sort of 10 or 20 of these Nintendo World Championship grey discs for the competition. So after the competition, you know, obviously some of the employees nicked them and they, you know, ended up on the market. And those discs are now worth quite a lot of money. Sorry, not discs, those cartridges. But even more expensive are the Nintendo World Championship gold cartridges, which I think were is it Nintendo Pro Magazine did a competition? I'm not sure. But, you know, basically the same thing. But it was a magazine competition and they only had like 10 or 12 of them available. So they're massively expensive. In fact, they're the most expensive video game around at the moment. And I know there are, you know, a few still in existence. I know Pat the NES punk has got a copy of each. He's got the grey one and he's got the gold one, which is amazing. But, you know, those have become rare because they survived over time. And they're based on games that, you know, are out there, aren't they? And you could argue that with limited run games, you know, Retro City Rampage and Saturday Morning RPG are out there, they're online. But I think it's sad when things are deliberately made to be worth a lot of money. And that's what limited run games do. They make games purely, really, not to be collected, but to be kind of like, you know, flipped on eBay. And that's sad because they don't end up in gamers' hands. They end up in the hands of people that are just going to scrounge off gamers, really. And foremost, I'm a gamer. I love games. I've been playing games since the 80s. And yeah, don't say I'm 80 now, I'm 42. And yeah, I think we've hit a sad point in video game collecting. Anyway, let me know what you think. Cheers. Bye.